Welcome to NinonSpeaks. I'm Ninon de Pureza, and I will be entertaining you. Well, no, not only me will be entertaining you. My guest is going to entertain you a little bit more than me. So we will start with Barbara Swanson. She's absolutely amazing. And I believe she's going to talk about something that we all need right now. And what we need right now is to be healthy. We've been kind of, what can I say, locked away for a couple of years, and nutrition has gone flying out the window, and we've kind of had the family home and not used to having a complete children and husband and wife and all this at home. So Barbara, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you, Ninon. How about you?
I'm doing great, and I love to have you because I can learn from you as to, now we're going to be talking about nutrition.
Yes.
And nutrition is very, very important. It kind of keeps us alive and keeps us in order, doesn't it?
You know, it does way more than people realize. We don't think about it. A lot of times we only think about it in terms of what we shouldn't do.
Now, what about what we should do?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that would be a better idea, don't you?
Well, I think it's going to be way more fun that way.
Now, I'm going to ask you a straightforward question. Do you believe in diets?
No.
I knew you'd say that. Do you know how I knew? I knew because you're more into nutrition than a diet, because you can go on a diet, lose 20, 30 pounds, and then 2 months later it goes back on again.
Not just that, you can go on a diet and really destroy your health long term if you get on a diet that you don't understand the consequences of.
And most people don't, do they? Do they understand?
You know what? Not only do they not understand, how could they? Most people are not scientists. They haven't studied nutrition or biology. No. How would they know?
I don't know, but there's all these diet things around, and in 30 days you can lose this and lose that. But then that's great. But after 30 days and you really look wonderful, and then you start putting it back on again, and then, you start all over again. So how do we permanently get rid of the fat and get rid of the anxiety within the brain of being overweight and not being healthy in our everyday life?
A little bit at a time. That's probably my number one tip for people. Is it's one of the secrets, I call it. Anything is better than nothing. I think human beings have a tendency to think to themselves, okay, I'll do anything I can for 5 days, 10 days, 30 days, like you said, then I'll go back to normal. But that's not how life works. So one single thing you change changes everything else.
But you have to really stick to that one thing, don't you?
So you need to make it doable. So I tell people when they tell me, okay, so what should I do? The first thing I say is, do you have a water filter of any kind, even like just a Brita filter or a Pure? And if they say no, I say, that's the one thing to do.
Why?
Because the better water you drink, the better it is for your body. And then number two is drink 1 extra glass of water every day.
Okay.
And then those are really easy.
But what does that have to do with weight? Will the water fill you up so you won't eat?
I love that. Such a wonderful question. Everybody goes, well, water won't fill me up and then I'm not as hungry. Well, no, what water actually does is water is a solvent, and water is the biological solvent that buys you the ability to take toxins out of your cells, out of your heart, out of your joints, and out of your body. And what people don't realize is fat oftentimes is being an insulator for toxicity. So when you remove the toxins, you can remove the insulation.
So we don't really need insulation, although we might judge it by being cold or being warm. Insulation is something you have in your house, in your walls, you don't have insulation actually in your body, or you shouldn't have insulation.
Yeah, what toxins will kill you. So your body will isolate them with fat.
Explain something to me. Explain to me, what are toxins? Because we talk about all these strange things. The average person says, what is toxins? They start to read about it, something, they get distracted, they never get the answer. What exactly are toxins?
So the number one toxin that none of us can get away from is metabolic. When you hit metabolism, the process of being alive and breathing, you produce at least 4 toxins that can kill you if your body can't get rid of them on a daily basis. This is just from life.
And what are those
life
four
toxins.
What are those four toxins?
Urea,
Now,
creatinine,
what's urea?
urea, creatinine,
Okay.
uric acid, although that's related to urea. Uric acid is one of them. I'm sorry, I actually don't remember the other two off the top of my head, but they're a byproduct of metabolism in your muscles.
Now, most people don't know those names. So let's go down into the layman area, and what would those be as a layman word that they would understand toxins?
So urea is the byproduct of breaking down proteins and fats. Okay. Creatinine is a byproduct of breaking down protein and muscle tissue, especially from exercising. Carbon dioxide is a byproduct of cellular respiration or just breathing, and it will kill you if you can't get rid of it. And then there's a whole host of free radicals, which are those things that damage your cells because your cells are always creating energy.
And what would the radicals be? Would it be taking too much sugar, taking too much hamburgers, what exactly is that? Because people relate their fat to food.
Yes, and food is a big part of it. Even if you think you're not eating that many calories, when you eat food with not enough nutrients, you can get really fat. So that's an important thing. But when I'm talking about cellular respiration and free radicals, that actually just comes from life, from breathing oxygen. So even the very healthiest person, the most important athlete that runs marathons, they can drop dead of a heart attack because they run out of the right nutrients and their free radicals damage their heart. So it's not just, I didn't eat right and I'm overweight. It's everybody.
Okay, so that breaks it down to majority of people out there to understand what weight really is, and is it all to do with food? A lot of it is to do with food, because if you eat, a lot of these hamburgers, a lot of the cheese, a lot of this food out there, and you don't exercise, and you don't do anything, it's going to stay in your body, and it keeps building up and building up. Then that stops you and doesn't help you to breathe, correct? Because you're
absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
So explain that a little bit to our audience.
So your body is meant to move. It's one way that we move all the cellular stuff into our digestive tract where we can eliminate it. So when you don't move, all these cellular toxins from life, they have nowhere to go. If you don't move your muscles, they can't get out of your muscles. So that's why movement is so incredibly important. Movement also encourages you to breathe. Yes. Oxygen is an important part of this process that helps you remove this daily debris of life. It's like if you had a house that never dusted, even if you have a clean house, it's going to be filthy in a year if you never dust anything.
Well, don't talk about my home like that.
I bet your house is not like that. I can tell by looking at you. But that's what happens to our bodies when we don't move. And that's why water helps, because water also flushes this stuff out of our system.
It flushes all the way through your system, and it does help you. So what I'm trying to now is, what is the difference between men and women? Because I seem to see more overweight women these days than overweight men. I'm not saying there aren't overweight men, but there seems to be more overweight women. What's going on with them mentally? Are they losing track of who they are, or are they not caring anymore, or what's going on?
That's really insightful. I think to some extent that could be true for some women, maybe even a lot of women, but not more important. I think more general, every woman deals with hormones. And testosterone increases your metabolism and increases your ability to create muscle mass. Yes. So a lot of women have very heavy estrogen levels, which encourage fat deposits.
Okay.
So a lot of times it's hormonally based. It's not just an unhappy emotional situation or, other things going on. And one of the reasons I think we see such overweight people in the United States in particular is we as a country allow hormones in our dairy and beef that is not allowed in almost any other country in the world. And those hormones, if you eat dairy and meat, you are getting hormones that mimic sex hormones that increase your weight.
So does that mean to say, does that depend on what meat you eat? I mean, a lot of people in America, they seem to be on this chicken diet. It's chicken or fish, or mostly chicken. And what are you having tonight for dinner? Chicken. What are you having tonight for chicken? You know, this seems to be sort of I think they think chicken is better for you and you won't gain as much weight. True?
And that's absolutely not true. Chicken actually has more steroid hormones and more estrogenic hormones than most beef. So that's really not true. It has less fat, but fat is not really the culprit. The culprit is the hormones that are added. So how you stop that is eat natural local meat that is not injected with steroids and hormones. And
that would be organic, right?
Organic is the best way to know that. It's more expensive, but in my opinion, more expensive is good for us because it means we eat less.
But more expensive, yeah, but more expensive than what? Because isn't your body the most important thing you have? Without your body and without this mind and all this crazy stuff, we're not there. So
absolutely,
we've got this one thing to look after. And it seems to be very, very hard to do for a lot of people.
Yeah. You know, people don't, because we aren't taught. We are not taught the basics of how to handle your body and what you really need.
But the reason we're not taught is because when we go to school, we're young, we're running around, we're doing all this crazy stuff. Then we go to college, we're running around doing all this stuff. And a lot of women are not large at that time. So it happens later on. And it seems to happen, you know, after they get through the menstrual and all this stuff, and their hormones go flying off somewhere. I don't know where they go, but they go somewhere in the country or wherever they go, and you're left to handle. So, do you think that they should be taught in school or in university of how your body reacts as you get older and how things change, especially in a woman's body?
I absolutely think that would change people's lives forever. And let me give you a statistic.
Yes. Because
it's pretty shocking. A normal MD in America, 75% of the schools teaching with a medical degree do not require nutrition as a course.
Why?
Very good question. I would like to know that answer myself.
Because, you know, think about it. In this world, all we have is our body. We don't arrive with a house and a car and all that. We have to earn that. We have to make money and earn it and buy it. But we are given our body to look after and take care of. And if we don't look after our body and take care of it, nobody else is going to bother. I'll tell you right now, I've tried it. Nobody's going to care. I mean,
no, I know. And if they do care, that we have no guarantee they know what they're talking about. And that's my point. We can't go to our doctor. We can't go to our doctor and say, tell me what to do. He may not know. In fact, he probably doesn't know.
So what is the best thing for the average woman, well, and men as well, so it's for all, what do they do? What is the best thing you would advise them to do to keep themselves fit and sort of in a normal, you know, being?
Drink more water.
Okay.
Do whatever they can to move more. And when I say little steps, I'm saying if all you can do is take 3 minutes to walk around your office, do that 4 times a day. It adds up. So move a little bit more. As much as possible, eat whole foods. Don't let yourself get seduced into the fast food or the boxed food. It doesn't really take a whole lot longer to make whole foods if you learn how, and it makes all the difference in the world to your health.
I couldn't agree. You know, I just roasted a Cornish hen. I cut it in half. I put potatoes in there, put onions in there. I put it in the oven. It took me all of 10 minutes to do that. And all it's going to do is cook. So it doesn't really, so I can't do the cooking because that's to cook. So I do agree with you. It doesn't take as much time, but people are not used to that. They drive on their way home. They will pick up something or whatever. And they're even, because they're so hungry, they'll eat it in the car and they're scoffing it down and they're driving and all this. That's not advisable. Sit and enjoy your dinner.
Oh, so true. And they aren't really taught how horrible that is for their health. You know, especially now we have a full generation of kids who grew up eating like that.
Yes.
So they're adults, not necessarily knowing any different.
And they now teach, well, they don't teach their children just follow through what they do.
Yeah, they do. And it's also cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, when you can go to Taco Bell and feed 4 people for $15, that seems like a heck of a good deal, right?
You don't have to cook, you don't have to do anything. Now, Barbara, I understand that you have written a book.
Yeah.
And what's the book all about? Well, I know,
it's a handbook. It's literally a 90-page handbook on how your body works and what you need to make it work. It's called Beyond Foods, the Handbook of Functional Nutrition.
So Beyond Food means that in this book, you're not particularly talking about what food you should eat or what you should do. You're talking about being a being.
I'm talking about some of the basic rules of how your body, the mechanics of your body, so that I'm not telling you what to eat. I'm informing you what you can do to make better choices.
Yes. So you have to be in the right frame of mind. I mean, the worst thing you can ever do is go into a supermarket when you're hungry.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
You drive up to the taco stand and you say, well, I want this, and I want that, and I want this, because you're sorry, and then you eat it all because you feel guilty. You don't want to throw it out.
And that's actually such an important, that's actually one of those hidden truths. That when you're too hungry, you can't make good choices because your brain is telling you, I need sugar. Because sugar is how we are hardwired to create energy. You're never going to get beyond your basic biology. So if you get too hungry, you will eat sugary things. That is your body demanding energy immediately.
Now, why does your mind and your body do that? Is it because it's used to doing that? Or is that because you've put it in that place to do that? Because you like the sugary sweet things? Which is
it's both.
Okay.
But if you were to take an indigenous person who was really hungry and gave them a choice of different foods, they would probably immediately grab the honey, something sweet, to raise their blood sugar up enough to think, because without good blood sugar, you can't think clearly. Then you can start making better choices about other things. So one of the tricks I have for people literally is, if you have a tendency to get really, really hungry, carry honey sticks.
What is
Eat a honey stick. Eat a honey stick when you're super hungry, and that gives you a little burst of some sugar, which is not the best, but it's better than going to eat a donut.
Funny you should say that. I'll tell you why. I have polos in my car, and sometimes I really don't eat until about 12, 1 o'clock any day. I just don't. So sometimes I even go out because I've got an appointment and I'm feeling like, a little hungry, or my stomach feels a little bit wheezy or whatever. I'll grab one of those small mints, which is sugar, but it's small and it's not much. And I know it's like maybe 5 calories or something. It's not very big. And that completely takes care of everything. And that's because of the sugar in it, right?
It's because of the sugar in it. Absolutely.
Why do our minds gravitate to the sugar?
It's biology. It's biology.
Okay.
Our cells, the only way we create energy is through glucose, which is a sugar.
Yeah.
So we know we're hardwired in our DNA to know that sweetness equals energy. We're hardwired in our DNA to know that fat equals long-term energy. So we crave fat and sugar. We're hardwired to know that salt, believe it or not, equals minerals if we didn't eat crappy, salty foods that were fake. So when you eat, like, celery is very salty if you taste it. It's the minerals in the celery.
But you're not adding salt, it's already in there.
It's in there as mineral salts. Yep.
So somebody watching this program right now, and I hope a lot of people are watching this program right now, because they're going to learn quite a bit, because this is not going as a diet. We're not really talking about a diet. We're talking about the nutritional style of your body. All of us are born, like I was born, and I'm not one for putting weight on. But at the same time, I'm very choosy with the food I eat, but I'm not a fussy eater, not at all. But I know when I don't know when I last went to fast food. I don't do fast food, never have, but I wasn't brought up to do that.
Yeah.
Is a lot of that being brought up, how you kind of continue your life?
Oh, 100%. Here's the thing about food that really complicates this whole conversation that we haven't really touched on, is that food is our first and most intimate relationship. It will outlast every other relationship in our entire life.
I thought it was a guy.
Don't we wish? Don't we wish? It's the sweetness of mother's milk introduces us to life. So, we can't change the reality that this is a very intimate relationship. If we are used to junk in, we don't have a good relationship with food. We have a very codependent, unhealthy relationship. So I'm all about, okay, if you need sweetness in your life, let's find a sweetness that won't harm you. Okay. I'm a big one for eating fresh fruit. When people tell me, give me some guidelines, I'll say, buy all the fresh fruit you like, eat all you want. It can't hurt you unless you're dying.
Does it have to be fresh?
Yes.
And what about vegetables?
Well, as many as you can eat. I mean, you can't overeat vegetables, in my opinion.
Is it better to have them raw, or is it okay to have them?
That's a really good question. I do believe in eating a lot of raw foods, but I also am a big believer in steaming foods and, enjoying foods, which often means cooking them together. Yes. I don't have a lot of rules around food. I think butter is delicious, and I don't think it's bad for you if it's organic. There's a lot of things that people don't believe like I do. I don't believe you should avoid carbohydrates. That's foolishness. Carbohydrates are an important part of life.
That's good to know.
Yeah, you just don't eat junk carbohydrates. Eat good ones.
Okay, so what are the good ones you would put out there for people to eat?
Whole grains. Eat like whole oats or whole buckwheat. Or if it's not a grain, any vegetable that's not a grain, in my opinion, you shouldn't even call it a carbohydrate like that's a bad thing. It's a vegetable filled with fiber and really good things.
Yeah. I eat a lot of vegetables because I happen to like vegetables, but maybe that's because my system has got used to it because I happen to like it. Because maybe my mom, I'm sure she fed us. I mean, in my bringing up years when I was being brought up, we were not brought up fussy. Whatever was put in front of us, you're going to eat. There's no, I don't like that. None of that. Otherwise, if you don't like it, then don't eat. That's exactly what it was. You didn't. And we had no Coca-Colas or Pepsis or anything like that. Not that I'm saying you shouldn't have it, but you've got to be careful how you eat it. So what would you, our teenagers, some of them are a little overweight. How do we handle that? Because they're awfully young.
It's their diet. It's the fast food they eat. I mean, I think there's no way to get out of that. And they're starving. Their appetite control system is out of whack because your appetite will stay on until you get the raw materials out of your foods your body is craving, the minerals, the essential fatty acids, the vitamins. If you're eating food that has none of that, your appetite will never completely go away.
Wow. I think the advice you're giving is absolutely amazing. Now, Barbara, what else are you into? What else do you do apart from all the nutrition and everything? Because you look like you're a bit of an active woman.
Oh, thanks. I love to garden. I love to.
Well, there's exercise for you. That's
it's lovely and it's very fulfilling.
Everything. Yeah, it takes your mind off everything. And then you watch it grow.
Yeah, I like to go to the beach, walk on the beach. I gather driftwood and I make different things out of them, rattles and stuff like that. So I have a lot of diverse interests. I'm a professional artist. I do a lot.
Professional artist, you paint?
Yes.
And what is your favorite? Is it landscapes or is it portraits or flowers?
I tend to take pictures of flowers in general, like more and more like Georgia O'Keeffe, but really, really, really big.
Oh, how fun, because my mother used to paint. And the reason I said flowers was my mother used to paint flowers, and she would have this beautiful urn, and then she'd have these flowers, and then she'd have one lying down, and she'd make it very, exotic, and it was beautiful.
Fun.
But I think this has also a lot to do with your mind and also your body. When you take yourself out of a situation and start thinking about other things and doing other things, doesn't that kind of satisfy or takes away that ego of eating?
Oh, I so believe that. As I said, it's a relationship, and we have a very strong emotional attachment to our food.
Oh, yes.
And when it's an unhealthy attachment because it's the only sweetness we have, or it's the only filling feeling we have, it's a very dangerous situation. It's very addictive at that point. And that requires work on your emotional body, not just work on your diet.
Yes, and work on your thoughts and your being, and as a human being, and what you're sort of putting into this world or taking out of this world, whatever the case may be. None of them are bad. As a human being, you've got yourself, and you can do whatever you want in your 24 hours a day. There's no restrictions, especially living in America. There's certainly no restrictions, and you can, more or less do what you want. Why do so many people neglect, and then they put themselves down, and they don't really like themselves? And why do a lot of people do that?
It's kind of a habit for some people. I think it's the way they try and get outside validation. If I say something bad about myself and if somebody disagrees with me, that means they think I'm good. And validation does have to come from inside.
So we say how bad we are, and they say, "Oh no, you're not. You're wonderful." That's interesting. Did you grow a pair of ears?
What's that?
Did you grow a pair of ears? I see ears. Have you got a?
Oh, I did. Yes, I grew a pair of kitty cat ears.
So you grew some. Well, let me see it. Put them up.
This is Cracker Jack.
Oh, you see, now I'm going to bring in animals. Now, animals are a great thing, especially dogs, because you can take dogs for a walk.
Absolutely. Plus, they have unconditional love.
Okay.
If you take care of them and give them anything, they give you back unconditional love,
which is always wonderful.
Yeah.
We all want that.
Oh, yeah.
So what are you thriving for right now? You look like a very energetic woman, and you look like you always like to do things. What are you trying to accomplish now? What are you doing?
That's a really, really good question, and one which I've actually been pondering and really thinking a lot about. I just want to increase the amount of joy I feel in everything I'm doing. And certain things around any kind of work you do, there are going to be pieces of it you don't love as much as others. I think that's life. You better learn to accept that. Yeah. But as much as I can, I am a big believer in the spiritual, what's the word I'm looking for? The spiritual food of beauty. So I make it a point in life to see what's beautiful everywhere. To me, that's my life.
There's beauty in everything, actually.
There is beauty in everything.
Also, it can be ugly in everything. Yep. It depends where this thing up here is at and what it's doing. But the reason I was asking you that question was I wanted to see if I could help you in any way to push you forward to do what you want. But I think you're in a place where you know what you want to do. The only thing, and I'm going to tell my audience out there as well, is do it. And even if you make mistakes, the funny thing about life is you only get correction on the mistakes you make. You don't get corrections on the mistakes you don't make. Nobody ever says, that's great, that's wonderful. So why did you do that? Or why did that happen? Or why? It's always something. But the reason for that is because that's the only way you learn is by your mistakes. So don't ever feel bad when you make a mistake. Would that be true?
Absolutely true. In fact, one of my favorite sayings is fail faster. If you're not happy with where you are, do something and fail faster till you get to where you're not.
Yeah, there you go. You've got it. You've got it. You've got it. Now, okay, so we're now on the track of that. So if you're overweight, or even if you're underweight, you've got to still have nutrition. But if you're overweight, this is for men and for women, for all of us. What's the first thing that somebody would think that they should do, or think, they're in a rut? What can they do?
Drink more water. I really meant it when I said that's my first thing I tell everybody is drink more good water. Because here's the thing. Here's how I like to say it. So let's say you drink an extra 3 glasses of water a day.
Okay.
You're going to eliminate more toxicity. When you eliminate more toxicity, you're going to have better thinking. Okay. When you have better thinking, you're going to make better choices. When you make better choices, you're likely to eat better food. When you eat better food, you're likely to have more energy. When you have more energy, you're likely to move more. See, it's this domino effect.
It's this rotation, isn't it?
It is.
The more you get used to it. So what I'm going to advise our audience out there is just try one of these things a week. Like, you know, even if it's half a glass of water extra than you do drink, then
Yes.
just make it half a water. Don't have to be dramatic and say, oh, I can't stand all this. Get yourself engaged into a pattern of life.
Yes. And thank yourself. It's like, look at your food and go, oh, I am so glad I made this choice. I'm so excited to eat this meal. If you decide that you are so stressed and you are just dying emotionally and you buy a piece of chocolate cake, love it. Every bite you take.
If you're going to go astray, love every minute of it. But you can't.
Well, I mean, because a lot of times people, what happens is they get upset, they get in their emotional being, and they go on automatic and they eat, and they don't let themselves think about it.
But they also don't get full up because they're eating so fast. It's not digesting in the right way, and they're still hungry. So they keep eating until they think they're full.
And then they're way overfull. So if you sit there and you go, I'm going to love every bite of this cake that maybe I shouldn't eat, but it's delicious. Thank you for this beautiful cake. It's amazing the difference your body feels when you pay attention to your food.
And you can cheat. It's okay to cheat. It's okay to take that little ice cream. It's so funny. I came out of a supermarket yesterday, a Smith's here in town, and there was a guy standing by this car, his car, I assume, and he had this big round thing. And I thought, that looks like a thing of ice cream. And it was, and he was eating this. And I'm looking at him, and he saw me looking, and he was like looking, and he was laughing, and I'm laughing at him, and he's laughing at me, and he's eating this ice cream. And I thought, oh my goodness, poor guy, but he was enjoying it. He was having a lovely time. On that, how can anybody reach you? And if you do, I'm sure you do this. Do you have a thing you put out there, or do you have?
I do consultations for free. I have a very intense, like 6-page health report that I help people put together if they're interested. You can connect with me. You can personal message me on Facebook. I'm just Barbara Swanson 1 on Facebook. Pretty easy to find.
Barbara Swanson 1
on Facebook.
Okay.
And then I have a YouTube channel, just Barbara Swanson YouTube. And I have a whole series on functional nutrition, just informational videos.
Fabulous. And do you have a phone number, or do they just reach you by email?
Nope, they can call me. It's 541-261-9061.
Are you in Arizona?
I am in Oregon.
You're in Oregon. Oh, how fabulous. Yeah. I knew somewhere out there. Well, Barbara, you've been amazing. I hope a lot of the audience out there who watch this and listen, that this program, NinonSpeaks, is to help other people out there see what we can do for you and how we can help you. And anybody out there would like to come on and also have, they've got something they would like to present and put out there and whatever. That's what we do on NinonSpeaks. And I want to thank you, Barbara, for coming on. Very informational, very, very good for our bodies, because that's all we have. Thank
you, Ninon. You're a wonderful host. You're just wonderful. Your energy lights up the room.
Thank you so much. Well, you too. You've got that energy out there too. The last one I will say is we must be eating right.
It does help.
Thank you, everybody out there. And also, I want to thank Social Media Shows for putting this together. And of course, Maria Pureza is my producer, and everything's wonderful out there. And if you want to get in touch, just get in touch with Social Media Shows, and we'll get you on the show. Thank you so much, Barbara. We'll be right back some other time. Take care.
Bye.
Welcome to Ninon.